I am the founder and the executive director of ACT United here in Carver County, Minnesota. And ACT is an acronym for Anti-Child Trafficking. And we've been working in the Carver County area. We started in 2015. And we've expanded into Wisconsin and about to make a couple of moves into Iowa as well. But what we do at ACT United, our mission is to connect communities together for awareness, outreach, and prevention of child sexual exploitation. And those crimes of child sexual exploitation that we address and that we train communities on and try to connect our systems together so that we can have a better response is sextortion, if anybody is familiar with that, as well as child pornography and sex trafficking. So we address those things in 3 different ways, but our biggest mission is to really try to connect all our sectors and disciplines and community members and professionals together for that united response. We do much better together. We do much better collaborating. Even my discussions out in the hallway today and introductions are all about how do we work better together. So that's why we're here this morning, and we have a really good program. This is what we've decided to call it is Next Steps Minnesota, Community Dialogue to End Human Trafficking. And that sounds incredibly ambitious, right?
Yes.
Oh, yes it does. Pastor Dean says absolutely. So I'd love to get a second. And coming from church, I'll take amens too, anytime throughout the morning. That's fine. It's rather ambitious. However, as I was looking through the sign-ups and looking through and meeting and greeting and seeing who's here today, I'm pretty confident that we have an ambitious group of people, that we have a pretty motivated group of people. We also have a very diverse group of people when it comes to the different sectors that we work in, where we are professionally, where we are in our networks, who we are as individuals, and where we're from. So that makes for a really good group to come together and connect. The one thing about connecting that I do want to highlight that we work on, this is kind of my vision, is when we think about connecting, ACT United wants to take us just one step deeper than just being connected. The way we look at things is often as a network. And a network is individuals that know each other for professional reasons or for personal reasons, and we are connected by one line of something that we do. We share something, some form of connection in what you do and what I do, and that is our network. At ACT United, we would like to see that network go one step further, and that is to become a safety net for children and youth and families in our community. To take that one next step that connects us together in a way that says we know each other, we're connected into a network, but now how do we use our connections to become that safety net that now is having an effect and having an impact on the health and safety of our community members. And a dialogue is one of those things that we do. And you're not officially in Chaska if you haven't met and heard from Chief Knight, by the way. So we're very happy to have him offer to give our welcome this morning. So please help me welcome Chief Scott Knight.
I would like to welcome you to Chaska on behalf of the City of Chaska and the Chaska Police Department, and Chaska Rotary and Waconia Rotary, and City of the Lakes Minneapolis Rotary. It's really important that you're here, and the fact that you're here means a great deal. Some of you know a lot about this topic. Some of you sort of know and think you kind of know, and some of you may know not a lot about it. You will leave today knowing a lot more about this than when you walked in, no matter where you are on the scale of knowledge concerning this. More importantly, you're going to walk out of here knowing what you as an individual and we as a people, a group, a community can do together with our synergy to address this. Traffickers use violence, deception, and other manipulative tactics to trap victims in horrific situations every day. Often they target the most vulnerable, our homeless youth. I hope we've gone beyond knowing that in places like Chaska, Chanhassen, Waconia, Victoria, I hope we've gone beyond thinking, well, we don't have any homeless people because I don't see them. I see them when I go to Minneapolis, but we don't have them in Chaska because I don't see them. They're invisible. Folks, we all know they're here. There's a parallel to this. Our kids who are homeless and being trafficked and others who are being trafficked, folks, they're here. They are everywhere. We leave with one thing today, if I may, it's we know they're here and we must be sensitive to that. This happens across all 50 states in the United States of America. Two primary factors motivate and drive human traffickers. What are they? High profit, vast profit. They make an unbelievable amount of money. The other factor is very low risk. So in many things, whether we're talking about business or training or whatever we might be talking about, we always like to look for maximum profit or reward, minimum exposure or risk. And that is exactly the world of the human trafficker. You can be part of the solution, and you will be, just by the fact that you're here today. And when we walk out of here today, we will all continue to be even more part of the solution, and God bless every one of you for being here. Thank you.
This is Laura and Jake, and they go to Chanhassen High School. And with our Youth Aware program, we have a 3-step model to educate and then to equip. So we'll follow up a awareness presentation with small group in the school where students have an opportunity in a smaller setting to ask questions, to get answers, to talk about real life and real life situations and go deeper on topics. And then step 3 is those students that learn more. They are so not only equipped and educated in the learning process, but then we have a step 3 where they design and execute their own awareness project. So Jake and Laura came to me by way of with an idea of a senior capstone project, and they wanted to address the issue of human trafficking in the state of Minnesota. And when I first met up with them at Caribou we met for the first time? Yeah. So I show up and I'm thinking, oh, you know, a couple of students, Jake is a junior, Laura's a senior. And I come to the table and I'm thinking, gosh, I wonder if they know what they even want to do. So I sat down and about 3 seconds later, Jake whips open a laptop. He's got a whole website designed and ready to go that has multiple data points for how to connect our state together. What are the resources of our state? I've been on the Minnesota Human Trafficking Task Force since it started, and we got money in, 2006? And we have yet to have something designed that says, data points on the state for who's doing what well, and how are they connected, right? And I'm like, why am I here? To buy coffee. That's it. I'll just buy your coffee and you tell me what's going on here. So, and between the two of them, and then Laura is really managing this very well with the whole project and what their goal is. So I invited them up just to share with you from the youth perspective and why it is so important to have you. We have another youth here today too from Chaska High School that will be working with us this summer, helping to teach other younger kids what she learns and doing some of those grade school programs with us. So this is Laura and Jake, and I'm going to have them tell you what they are doing and what their goal of this project is.
Hi, my name is Laura, and I'm a senior at Chan, as Jessica already said. And I was in my 21st Century Issues class, and our teacher told us we had to do something to help people And I decided I really wanted to do something that was really important going out my senior year, and I thought what was more important than helping people who get involved with sex trafficking. And from there I met Jake, and he was also pretty passionate about it, and I got him roped into. And we decided originally we wanted to create a website where we could help people create a resource. So we created a map and to pinpoint locations where people could go to shelters and legislation that they could look at so they could advocate not only for themselves but could educate and get themselves out of their own situation. And so, but Jake really took off with the web design, if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, so when designing the website, I thought really that the advocating and finding points was kind of a base level, and I believe that we had to take it a step further if we were going to dedicate so much time to such an important topic. So that's when we started moving into the ecosystem concept, or kind of the net concept of the industry. And what that is we look at all the different points, all these different organizations, and we look at the connections between them. Who are they partnering with? What do they do? And by working in that sector, we're mapping out the entire ecosystem of the state of Minnesota and how every organization works together. And what we want to do with that information is we want to look at where are our organizations focusing on, where are we kind of lacking a bit, and kind of what are the next steps for the industry as a whole. And that's what we believe would kind of have more of a greater impact, kind of leaving the project behind as we move towards college and other post-education.
Thank you all, and it's a pleasure to be here with all of you, and thank you for everything that you're doing to help the community.
We want to know, where are we at? You know, what do we have? What do we not have? What do we know? What do we have yet to learn? How are we working really well together? And where do we need improvements? It helps take us from those networks of knowing each other really to what are the next steps as individuals, as an agency, and as a community that we can take to improve in one of these areas or improve our response to human trafficking, with the ultimate goal of ending the sexual exploitation of our youth, our children, and our vulnerable and at-risk populations. What does our community know? What do we need to know about human trafficking? And are there any myths or barriers to accurate awareness or information on this issue?
There are certain communities where there is no knowledge of this whatsoever.
Kids don't think this stuff is around at all, and they need to be made aware so they can be resilient to it.
It does happen across the state, but there is still a resistance to believe it's happening in our community, especially if the community is viewed as an affluent community.
We don't know what to look for.
Traffickers or buyers are also part of, I think, the myth, because it can be your neighbor, it can be your family member, it can be somebody close to you. It doesn't have to look like a criminal, it doesn't have to look like somebody who is an evil person.
Ignoring kids that may not be foster care youth or kids that are at high risk, just really being aware that it could happen to any person.
So awareness and prevention are absolutely powerful. What does a community with strong collaborative prevention, interdiction, and restorative response look like?
That you have a knowledge of how and where to get help.
Equipping the youth with the knowledge on healthy relationships.
But it has to start with a foundation of understanding and appreciating our common humanity.
People know their resources, so even if they can't help you or don't know the proper path, they can send you in the right direction.
Need for a digital solution that would identify all the resources that are available to youth. There needs to be a deliberate effort across the community if we're going to be successful.
Filling the gap with bringing together the medical solutions as well as churches, community groups.
We know that there are resources out here. Everybody in this room could name a resource, right? But when you go talk to someone who's on the street, do they know those resources? Do they know how to get there safely?
You should be able to have access to those resources, and they should be in locations where you can find them.
Really asking for a culture shift. And secondly, the need for that collaborative task force. Who are the go-to people? How do you even know who to go to if you don't have some sort of connected, collaborative system in place? With human trafficking prevention, interdiction or intervention, and restoration in our community, what are we doing well, and what can we do to improve?
What we do well is our community programs and awareness, spreading the word, but we do that well and we don't do that well.
The safe harbor law is another thing that we've done well in the state. Just having this conversation, that's one thing that we're doing well, is bringing this to the fore.
But everything under the doing well category has to go into the need to improve category.
As an industry, the anti-sex trafficking industry is split up between so many different organizations and so many different marketing strategies that there really isn't a unified brand. If the industry as a whole were able to unify behind a couple key symbols or slogans, that then, walking down the street, it would be easily identifiable and say, okay, that's a place that I can go.
Getting a website of all the resources for us older people, and an app for the younger people.
I feel like if we bring it into the schools and we educate the young kids, then that's how we can make the biggest impact.
Just continuing the dialogue and checking in with each other.
What we're doing really well as a state, and then therefore in our counties and cities, is our laws. Minnesota, if you didn't know, really does have a good safe harbor law for youth. So the second thing that was a theme in what we did really well is I kept hearing a lot of, we're in agreement that this is not okay. And where we can improve had a couple of themes as well. One is in our awareness and connection of the stakeholders. And here is what is really important, is intentional to continue. We really need to take today with some intentionality and to continue to make those improvements and take those steps that we've identified today that would be important for our community, for creating a safe community and for the protection of our children and youth and families. And we really need to be intentional in that, because it's not going to happen on accident, as we all know. So that was an important common theme. Because connecting in conversation, the light bulb starts to go on that we're all kind of stakeholders, aren't we? If I'm a parent, if I'm a grandparent, if I'm in a nonprofit, if I'm in the food industry, if I'm in agriculture, if I'm a teacher, if I'm in social services, the Department of Health, law enforcement, we start realizing that it isn't just a police issue anymore, that we really do have influence.
This affects everybody, and my first thought was, I'm going to invite some people that I work with to come. But what I'm not thinking about is I need to invite my neighbor. She's a mom, she's a person, she's affected, she may not know this, but try to get the awareness out by that. So that's something that I'm going to try to do, and I guess I'm putting you on the spot saying, Jessica, will you have another one of these events so we can do that?
I think my favorite thing out of this tonight was Jessica talking about the other teenagers, telling the other teenagers, hey, come over here to this table. They know who to talk to. And the idea that there's totally no way of telling what is prevented in that setting. There's not going to be data points.
Certain approaches where we put information out in just a very public but accessible way, so it doesn't stand out for certain kids to find out about, but that it's kind of aware for any kid to find out about.
So if you want Jessica's program or anybody else's program in your community, find the Rotary Club.
We are all here committed and united for the same cause that is incredibly significant. So let's do what the next thing, which is what we said we needed improvement on, which is to be intentional in our connection and collaboration, to go from being a network of professionals and people to a safety net for children and youth in our community. Thank you.